So I started just playing with records, and I had a basic understanding of chord movements and things, and still expanding my vocabulary and learning new ways of creating chord changes. And of course, the songs on the album showed me a lot of new things. Some of them, what I heard Ray do, I didn't really know what he was doing, but I just copied it. I just said, okay, I was learning the bass lines just like a melody, and just try to play along with the record, try to assimilate that feeling, assimilate the sound. For me, the sound was the first thing that wiped me out. I said, wow, it's just the sound that Ray and Leroy made on the instrument was so amazing. And so I think that, for me, was one of the first things to come to terms with it, was to try and define the sound that I wanted to make on the instrument. And of course, that was through a lot of experimentation. There wasn't anybody that could tell me. I didn't have access to studying with Ray or with Leroy, so I was just listening and then playing and seeing what would produce the sound that I was looking for. And I'd hear them do certain things with the left hand, like pull-offs and slides and things like that. And all this kind of vocabulary that I started to assimilate from the records started to be a part of what I had in my own vocabulary. Eventually, I started to feel a little more confident, started to go into jazz sessions and jam sessions and jazz clubs and sitting in. And, the first time I played a sort of jazz gig, I remember the band took solos, and of course it went the usual way through the horns and the piano, and of course as it got closer to the bass solo, I was getting more and more nervous, my heart was going, and I was like, okay. But I just played what I could, played some of the riffs that I had learned from the records, and just on that point, for me, one of the questions I get asked so much is about solo playing, and how do I create a solo, how do I make a melodic solo, and so on. And I feel that one of the things is you've really got to learn the language of the music from the masters. That's what that imitate part of the process is about. Is that it's just sort of like when you learn to talk when you were around your parents. Nobody explained to you how to spell a word. You just knew that was a word that was associated with apple or with door or with orange or whatever you wanted to say. And so it was an assimilation that's very subconscious, and part of that is so important, that subconscious absorption of the feeling and of the sound of the music. Otherwise, you're reinventing the wheel right from the beginning. This is a shared language that we have in this music. It's something that I recognize when I play with a musician. I recognize what their reference points might be. The reference points that we all share. And that's what gives us the sort of common ground that we come together and work on. And those reference points, of course, are developed over the history of the music. I grew up, as I said, would have been the early 60s when this was happening for me. And so I was listening, to sort of what was becoming known as post-bop music. But, I kind of stuck to these records and